Hello and welcome back to the M3DM Tabverb. Not sure what I'm working on during the warm-up today, but excited to be here and take a seat, settle in. Hope you guys have a nice warm drink or something along those lines. I'll have a good time. I see Hindsight and Mini Blaze are already here chatting it up. Love to see it. I have a fun poll going on right now. Looks like in the lead here is the question is, what mini painting sin have you committed lately? And in the lead is dropped and broke a painted mini. Whew. Have you guys looked into stronger resins? Because honestly, it's a lifesaver. 20% of you have licked a paintbrush. Why? Got some paintbrush lickers in here. I've seen that like on streams of professional painters, and they just like it's nothing. They do a little painting, clean the brush. It's just like this non-stop thing. I don't know. It's always weirded me out. Excuse me. I haven't talked a whole lot today yet, so my voice is all scratchy. Taylor's here, good morning. And Corey, good morning, good morning. Alright, let's go ahead and get rolling here just a bit. Cleaning up some things on my side. Our Discord server has seen some pretty substantial improvements lately, so if you're not already in there, check it out. If you are, great, you should already know about the improvements. But essentially, we now have a projects channel. Here we go, I'll show it to you guys. So yeah, instead of it just being a live stream channel that I dump stuff into, we now have these projects. So you guys can actually put your own stuff in there too. Like Wolf's already taken advantage of this to ask for help about metallic reflections. So today is the Plasmoid Warlock. That'll be the Tavern Keeper's Craft, which is the main meat and potatoes of the stream. So I kind of, at the beginning here, I set you guys up to tell you what the request is and what the main components are. And then the rest of y'all kind of came in here and put in all these ideas for me to reference today. Pretty cool. Join the Discord. You can then see the references I'm looking at and contribute your own. Or even start your own posts and get some help with your own projects. We have very, very friendly peasants in the tavern that would love to help you. Alrighty. I think that's a wrap for our kind of housekeeping items and where we're at. Xander's here, welcome. So far, YouTube didn't notify me again. That's okay, you made it, you made it. Do you have the bell thing turned on? I think that's like what fixes that, I'm not certain. Hindsight defending themselves. Mia, like I said at the top, I didn't lick it. I cleaned the brush in the water, then shaped it. I guess. Alrighty. So for our warm-up here, I'm actually going to show off something I finished yesterday, which is Thor. You know, Thor and I had some tough beginning figuring out how to get that model situated. Looks like I deleted the model from my computer. I want to show it to you guys though. But by the time it was all finished and post-process, I'm really happy with the final result. It just took some fighting. Here we go. We have two different poses, and I even went ahead and made a couple different bases for him. I wanted to go ahead and get this in here so I can show you guys. And get my light scene all set up for the day. If you guys are wondering, like, wow, you really adjust your light scene every single stream. It's true. I feel different about it every day. I'm very inconsistent with it. Yeah, he turned out amazing. I'm really happy with it. Even if I don't know, just one of those models that did not connect with me at all. It took a long time for me to find my footing, but it really worked out. I think he looks incredible. Mini Blaze loves the first pose especially. Yeah, I'm usually a sucker for action poses, but that is why I do one of each. This casual pose here is darn near supportless, so that's kind of the trade-off. Cameron Smith is here. Oh, it's Pixel. Hi, welcome back, Pixel. It's so cool to see the chat just fill up with I recognize everyone here. You know, it's really cool. Makes me happy. Welcome back, peasants. So yes, I did some work on this, and I had something new to show you guys today, because I did some work off stream. I know, without you guys. I went ahead and I posed the Hodag. He still hasn't had any of his details blended together, but I went ahead and recorded a speed sculpt to share with you guys later. Let's see if I can find it. How do I even play this? Oh wow, this is actually working much smoother than I expected. But yes. Alright, peasants, I would like your attention. This is a speed sculpt of me posing the Hodag cryptid. So they do have Hodags in Pathfinder, but it's not really based on that. It's based on the cryptid from Wisconsin. But here we go. It's kind of just a quick little video of what that posing process looked like. I know it's really quick. I tried to keep my screen mostly flat as I worked, so it's a little followable. But whenever I do work off stream, I think I'm going to make these little speed sculpts for you guys. So if you have any questions, you can ask me and I can demonstrate stuff live. But yeah, I did a really simple pose here. You can see I'm being very particular with each leg and then the overall curvature of the said body. That entire posing process only took me about 15 minutes in real life. In this case, it was shortened down to 35 seconds. I'll just have that kind of play again here. But yeah, that's why I had all these really chunky seams and I wasn't too worried about it because that's how I pose it, kind of like an action figure. When I'm dealing with humans, I don't need to do this as much because I'm more confident in the anatomy and how it's going to move. But with a creature that I'm concepting, I really want that flexibility of changing proportions quickly. So as a result, I keep the legs all separate, kind of like an action figure. So now that you guys have seen that speed sculpt, I can open up the original ZPR and kind of show you what we're looking at. The pose, I think, adds a lot. We still have these really unsightly seams to deal with, but we have a lot of appeal and a lot of cool stuff going on now. I haven't decided on the base, so let me know. Let me know if you guys have any base ideas for this. It's supposed to be a forest creature, but I'm really feeling more swamp. Corey says, that's a good idea. Showing that little video is cool. I'm glad it was helpful or it's fun to see. Voxel's here. Welcome back. Mini Blaze, face it, man. We want to see live posing so we can learn things. It's really just masking. So Character Creator 4 is a rig and that's much more complicated. But this whole posing process was just done by going to Z plugin and Transpose Master. You click T-Pose Mesh. That's it. It just takes all these subtools and makes them one piece. And then I just come in with a mask brush over and over and over again and keep drawing masks. So sometimes it's easier for me to do that off stream. But yeah, here's our handsome Hodag. You guys probably won't see him again until he is released on Patreon, so I kind of wanted to give you guys an update on him before I send him off to get completely finished. I say send him off as if another artist is going to finish it. It's me. It's just me again. Hindsight says, mash the two up for the base idea. Forest and swamp, bog. I like it. I will do that. I have some pretty exciting projects in the works. I'm tentatively calling it M3DM Realms. And essentially, I'm going to take the monsters and characters I've been creating and push them into one diorama. So that way, my idea is that you can, it's a play and display. So even if you don't have time to actually meet up with people and play in games in person or utilize your minis, you'll have this really beautiful diorama to admire everything as well. So that's my hope. The plan for the diorama is it's going to be about this big, like a rectangle. And then you're going to be able to take your minis and set them on there for display and then just pick them right off to go play on a game or whatever, which also means you can swap minis out. So that's kind of a tentative teaser, just mentioning it for the first time. Oh my god, Xander just put the best reference in our Discord. It completely distracted me from what I was saying. Oh my god, it looks so cute and silly. I love it. Oh my goodness. Oh, there's a few of them. Oh, sweet. So it must be like a quick AI generation. I dig it. That's super cute. Awesome, awesome. A reminder that our Discord has improved recently and we now have an official project references form where I can organize each live stream into a post. So as you have ideas, please share them. Mini Blaze says, sort of like a display tray. Exactly, exactly. Mini Blaze, let's see, what else happening? So far, if not friend, why friend-shaped? I completely agree. All right, so we got this guy here. Trying to decide. We're about halfway through our warm-up here. I might as well just start patching the seams on this model. So feel free to keep talking amongst yourselves. You got any questions, make sure you tag me by putting at M3DM because it highlights in orange. If not, I'm gonna kind of let you guys just chat amongst yourselves and let's get this guy pieced together. A reminder that the main Tavern Keeper's craft today is going to be a Plasmoid Warlock. That was requested by Robert. He always has a bunch of fun requests. If you want even more details on that, I kind of have a brief summary pinned over here at our bar order. But if you want the most details, again, that's always going to be shared in our Discord server, of which everyone's invited. You don't have to be a patron anymore to be part of that. All right, so the way that I start patching these seams together is I merge everything down and then I come in with Dynamesh. I'm also gonna come in with Move Topological so I can start refitting his little toenails. They kind of fell out of his foot a little bit during the posing process, as they do. Oh, today is Friday, isn't it? Okay, very nice. I was wondering, I felt like you guys seemed a bit more lively today. Or is that the case? I find that a surprising amount of people that hang out in my streams don't really have normal schedules either. So maybe this Friday doesn't mean Friday to you. Maybe your Monday is your Friday or something. I'm on a really odd work schedule now where I pretty much just do a little bit every day instead of having dedicated days off. And it's just worked out a lot better for me. All right, so I went ahead and Dynameshed these. So here's the before and here's the after. You'll notice that it's now one continuous mesh, which means I can really kind of close up these seams and build up some additional musculature. I'm going to do that by using the clay brush. I'm going to have RGB turned on, which is poly paint, but I'm going to have it a lower strength. And I might even change it to a color spray later. We'll see. I really enjoy this part of creating monsters because it's where it starts to come together and make a lot more sense. You guys are sharing your schedules. I love that. Yeah, so hindsight, 7 to 4, Monday through Friday. That's pretty standard. That's pretty tame. I like that. Aren't you a student though, too? Can't remember. So that's actually surprisingly consistent. When I was in college, my schedule was all over the place. I really talk about when I was in college. I feel like too much, considering I really didn't enjoy my time. And it was 6 years ago. I can move on. I can talk about other things. Gosh, this is so satisfying just to fill in these seams, make it look like a continuous leg, actually. I'm now going to come in with my standard brush, and so I can kind of start bulking up musculature and making it look a little more intentional. I'll also be using my damp standard brush to add in some of these kind of like plates almost. It's got a lot of interesting textures going on here. Mini Blay says, I saw a video yesterday about bases. The guy brought up an interesting thought. We print our models, so we have to worry about tree supports. Continue. So here it recommends doing it separate. Oh yeah, absolutely. I actually offer all of my minis on Patreon with a no base version as well. So if you want, you can just print your mini separate. That also allows you to scale it however you like. By default, all my minis are 28mm scale, but if you wanted it to be 32, that'd be super easy. You just print the mini separate, scale it up like 10-15%, and then you're in business. Oh, Aloha's here. Hello, hello. Hope you're well. The chat is extremely chatty today. I love it. All the peasants are here. Gonna let you guys converse amongst yourselves, and I'll make sure to tune in as needed. Aloha says, Mia, sorry to go off topic so quickly. I wouldn't expect anything less from you. But I'm so happy for you with all the growth that's hit the channel. You've been amazing and deserve it all. Go, Mia, go. Aw, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm going to give you guys a little more context as to what Aloha just shared, because I keep mentioning like we improved our Discord server lately. I didn't realize how much it had grown. So you can't see statistics on your Discord server unless you enable community, which is all news to me. I don't know if Wolf is lurking here, but all of this was helped from Wolf. But yeah, this is... Yeah, this is my Discord server from the beginning of the year to now. It is quite obvious when I started streaming, if I do say so. Thank you guys so much for being here. It makes a huge difference. Honestly, at a loss for words. So right here, this flat line, you're like, oh, okay, well, you just had a quiet January. No, no, no. This flat line here extends through like all of last year too. You know, I'm still figuring things out. Being an artist and a businesswoman are very symbiotic, but they're hard to figure out and improve at the same time. I'm always trying to improve as an artist, which feels a little more... It's a little easier to improve with art, I think. Business and social media and all this stuff kind of feels like an enigma to me at times. So I'm hitting a really good pace right now and just happy to have you guys part of it. It's really a delight. It helps that you guys are so friendly and easy. Oh, Major Blaze, or the Mini Blaze in the chat, just made a new post in our project references on Discord called Base Ideas. So this is perfect use of that channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Where you guys can now put different references for the base for the Hodag Cryptid. You 100% understood the assignment. Thank you. That is awesome. Just gonna... You're the best. That's awesome. Dared called hindsight schedule simple, so now he has shared all of the details. I love it. Beautiful. And then thank you again, Mini Blaze, for putting in the Discord invite for everyone too. Y'all are just on it. All right, before I get too mushy with y'all, I'm gonna focus on scales on this Hodag Cryptid because I am overwhelmed with love. All right, so right now I'm coming in, I'm gonna add a bit more of this overlapping scale detail. You don't wanna just blanket the whole thing. The temptation might be to like, more is more, which, sure. But the problem is when you take a scale like this and you just make it the exact same size all the way down, it doesn't have a very nice flow to it. So if you are gonna add a lot of texture, make sure that you have a direction for it. So this is kind of like his forearm. So I'm gonna wanna run somewhat along this muscle here, but I'm also going to want it tapered just as a forearm does. So we're gonna have it larger right here, very intentional. So that's actually affecting the silhouette right here, which is good. And then I can complement that by slowly stacking in smaller and smaller scales. And what that does is it kind of directs your eye at the same time. It can feel like a lot to keep track of. So if it feels too overwhelming, just focus on doing rather than not doing. But once you're comfortable of just kind of riffing ideas, make sure you're being very intentional in the way that you add secondary details to your models. Otherwise, it's easy to get kind of lost in the sauce and your model might be a little too busy or difficult to read. If you need any of that explained in a different way, let me know. I'm really good at explaining the same concepts with different little twists on it. I'm kind of tempted to add some damage or battle scars to him, but we're almost at the end of the Tavern Keepers. Oh my god. We're almost ready for the main segment of the stream and finish with the warm-up. So now that I kind of got these creative juices flowing, we're going to move on to the next segment. I do think this belly needs another piece. There we go. It's not really a belly, it's kind of like a pouch for what I imagine all this acid spit is coming from. He's just kind of a gross little thing. There we go. See how that reads so much better than that just one smooth blob like this? Whenever you're looking for a more interesting silhouette, think, can I just add another subtool to achieve that? It's going to be easier to control your forms that way. Alright, that was a nice little warm-up. Made some progress on the Hodag. Minnie Blay says, Mia, why are the scales pointed up instead of down? Is that a preference? Kind of. But also, yes, there is a 3D printing reason for this. The more I have stuff moving up the model, the less overhangs that I have. These were flipped. So I might as well have them point up. Conversely, it does also just look better to have these lines kind of guiding upwards. These ones right here, the secondary, could be pointing down, but especially on the outside ridge, I enjoy having them point up. It also does just look better. So far has a very good comment here. Forearms are crazy on humans, how the muscles change. I have a tattoo on my inner forearm. If I twist, it can almost be on top. I suppose animals don't twist like a ball joint on their paws. This is true. Now your forearm is ridiculous. You have 2 bones in here. Don't ask me what they're called. I know that they're called something though. And just the way you can twist your arm, these 2 bones are rotating and twisting on top of each other when you rotate your wrist. I encourage you guys to look at your arm right now and rotate and look at this bump right here, because that's the termination point of one bone and that's your other one. And watch as you can move them on top of each other. It's insane. Arms are kind of the bane of my existence when it comes to art. I'm getting better though. Alright, we're going to save the Hodag, and we are now going to move on to the Tavern Keeper's Craft. Very excited. But keep adding those ideas for the base designs for the Hodag. And I will probably review that in our happy hour today. Alright. Moving on. Reaper's here. Hi, welcome. AKA Taylor. And Jamie. Goodness. We have everyone coming in today. I love it. Welcome back. Welcome back. So we're moving on from our lovely Hodag here to this Plasmoid Warlock. We have more details and lots of references that we have shared in our Discord channel, but essentially it's just an oozy dude in a suit. I made an ooze warrior a while back, and they're going to be kind of like close friends, I imagine. We'll do a little review right now together. Alright, this was requested by Robert Payne. He is a patron of mine. If you want to support my artwork and get access to hundreds of 3D printable models and request your own from me, go to my Patreon. There you go. Alright, my next request is for a Plasmoid Warlock, part of the Pact of the Great Old One. I'd like a Plasmoid with a vaguely humanoid shape, wearing a suit, driving gloves, and a stovepipe hat. I want it to look vaguely sinister and otherworldly, Cthulhu-esque. Other elements would be fun to incorporate, but entirely unnecessary. I think they're necessary. If possible, would be as many plasmoid tentacles as possible, like on a base or coming out of his back. His familiar is literally a skeleton that could be dragging behind him or laying down. I probably won't include the skeleton, but we'll see how far we go. Hindsight has offered to do an arm anatomy sketch. Please. The more references, the better. Even if I don't need him right now, that's just a really fun project. So I went ahead and I boiled down this request into these main elements, which I put somewhere. Here we go. A suit, driving gloves, stovepipe hat, Cthulhu-esque, lots of eyes, teeth, and tentacles. And here are some references I put together. This is one that Robert actually made in Hero Forge for me, is to kind of like see what the general gist was. And these are some more references that Robert provided. Why are you no longer scrolling? Okay, this won't scroll anymore, so I guess we're done showing you that. Would it be a live stream without some sort of technical difficulty? No matter how small. It scrolls over here. Anyway, I digress. So, interestingly, the plasmoidness of it is going to be very secondary. We're really going to work on making a dapper suit. He's just going to look like a normal gentleman until I oozify him. It is time to begin a new character. I go to my beginning ZBrush file. Simple as that. I open this up and I have all kinds of cool stuff in here for me to kind of kit bash quickly. I have a male and a female base mesh. We are not going to need the female base mesh for this suit. Here we go. Here is our little Chad dude that I start with. I've made Thor from him and Odin just recently, so it's kind of fun to see how many times this base mesh changes. And now we also can look at all of our lovely assets. So this is my asset library for heads and hats. I have another one for shirts, shoes, pants, really anything you can imagine. Well, let's kind of start from the top down, right? One of the first things we need is a stovepipe hat. I'm more than likely going to create a lot of these assets again from scratch, but to first concept the model, I really enjoy kind of kit bashing it together quickly. One, let's be real, it makes the stream more interesting than me working on a hat for 2 hours. And two, it allows me to iterate more ideas and push the concept farther more quickly. So we're gonna grab this hat here because it's stovepipe-esque minus the nuts and bolts sticking out of it. It's good enough. So let's go ahead and add that to our model. I kind of lost him. Where did you go? Oh, here he is. We don't need these tassels. So the way that I take one asset and move it to another tool is you can click append or insert. The buttons are right next to each other and they do darn near the same thing. It just depends where it's adding it in your subtool order. But you can move it around, so it doesn't really matter. I usually click append. And at the top here under quick pick, it will show previews of your other tools where your subtool is actively selected. This sounds like a lot of nonsense if you don't use ZBrush. Even if you do use ZBrush and you're confused, let me know and I can do it a little bit slower. All you need to know is I'm just taking pieces from one project and putting them in another. All right, we have this stovepipe hat, which really leaves a lot to be desired. Be kind, I made it a long time ago. My asset library is of varying quality because I myself have been an artist of varying quality over the years. All right, we have a hat. The next thing that we can add here that's essential is a suit. I don't think we're going to need any of these other pieces here. Nope. I don't think he needs antlers or cat ears, not that kind of model. All right, I do have a pretty nice suit base here. I'll probably keep this. I have it labeled as chef coat, funny enough, because I made this originally for a baker, if you can believe that. That's a fun thing for you guys to consider as you look at my asset library. Every single model and every piece was created for a character specifically. I don't just make a bunch of shirts for the hell of it. They were made with one character lovingly in mind. Like this bra right here, that was made, unsurprisingly, for one of my mermaids. It really came out nice. All right, what else can I grab here? I don't really have a nice overcoat for him, just that vest, so we have a lot of work to do still. A 3-piece suit is a must, Mini Blaze says. I agree. I agree. Oh, also a reminder for all my 3D printer enthusiasts, I'm now sharing a free STL every single day. Today I am sharing a 6-piece coral reef collection. It's all free on my Patreon right now. If you type in !freebie, it will appear for you. What else? Oh yes, I replace it every single day, so if you want it, go get it. 5 out of the 6 pieces are supportless. Who doesn't love that? All right, he needs some basic pants. Funny enough, when I'm doing these models, usually the pants are the last thing I do. Feels like I'm doing things out of order. Reaper says, Mia, I hate you. Retopping the Death Angel is making me lose my sanity. I spent 6 hours on just the face alone. Oh no. Oh, I can't have that. Oh my goodness. Nope, nope. 1 second. We're gonna take a detour, y'all. We're gonna call this Plasmoid Warlock. All right, Reaper, do you want the T-pose version of Thor, or just my dude here? I gotta send you something. This is where I have my quick saves right now. I have Thor. I do not have the Halfling Monk. She's too old now. I think I can go get it though. So if you want Thor or the Halfling Monk in a proper T-pose, please let me know and I'll send it to you right now in the chat. Corey asked a great question. How do you know if something needs supports or not? Essentially, what you want to do is you want to look at a model like a printer would. They print upside down. So start from the feet and just start going left and right. They're just legs. Everything is good. Oh, we're coming. I'm hitting an arm. See this gap from his torso to his arm? That means that this hand, there's nothing underneath it. So if I were going to try to print this, the hands and the arms would not print because there's nothing on top of it. When you are 3D printing, you're essentially like layering a cake, okay? So you go layer by layer by layer. If there's nothing there to layer on, that's where you put a support so it can layer up. So again, this is all working out right here. I'm scribbling up his leg, it layers up. But right here, this hand doesn't have anything. So that would need a support. So whenever you're in broad strokes, if you're printing stuff that tapers towards the top, like a pyramid, you know you're good because it's all layering. The second you have an overhang, like a human with dangling arms, you know you're gonna need supports. Good question. Taylor said, yeah, I'd like any T-pose. Though I think I'm gonna obsess with the Death Angel because it's personal now. That is totally okay. But I need to take a brief detour here to send this to you. It might be a little too high poly. We'll figure it out. Here, I'm gonna click all low on it, and that should make it a bit better. Merge visible. All right, this is only 1,000,000 points, so it's not like an absolute crime. Tool, export, download. We're gonna call it for Taylor, literally. .obj. Alrighty, that's already been finished, uploaded, and here you go. It's pretty high poly, mostly, but at least it's a T-pose. So if you want to retopologize this, it'd at least be easier. Monkey's here, hi, welcome. Today we're working on a Plasmoid Warlock. Right now we're kind of slowly assembling all the pieces. He now has somewhat a shirt and pants. All right, what else do I need here? Okay. I'm looking at all these lovely references you guys shared. He definitely needs a three-piece suit. He's also gonna have driving gloves. There's a lot of interesting things happening here. Oh, this is gonna be cool. All right, how about these shoes? They look pretty simple, and they're mostly gonna be covered up by his pants anyhow. A really good, classic, simple loafer. And then we'll need to get a more fun color scheme on here as well. Hindsight wanted to see the wireframe. I'm changing pieces really, really quickly, so if you want to see something specifically, let me know. But as of now, I have the wireframe turned on just for a bit here as I click on all these different pieces. For example, this is Disaster. This is quite nice. Klutz here, welcome back. Alright, he's also going to need a coat of some sort. I'm going to go ahead and delete his eyebrows and whatnot because he's... Oop, I deleted his whole body. That is not what I wanted. Thank you, ZBrush. Fun fact about ZBrush, if you delete a subtool within a folder, it deletes the whole effing folder. Drives me crazy. It does ask you like, oh, are you sure you want to do this? But it asks me that all the time, so I'm in the habit of just saying yes. Oh, it's super annoying. Also, unfortunate. If you delete something in ZBrush, there is absolutely no way to undo it. It is forever. So, do with that information as you will. Luckily, we didn't really lose any progress thanks to my obsessive quick saves. So all we have to do is come back here and just grab his loafers and put them back on. It still annoys me, but it's not the end of the world. So yes, what happened here is let me scroll down. I have a folder up here. And the folder was closed. So because I deleted something while the folder was closed, I just deleted the whole freaking folder. Oh, ZBrush. See, that's the kind of stuff that if Maxon fixed an update, I'd pay for an update. But no, they want to give reworks of the same things that already work well. It's also just a really high price tag. For the update, they pretty much want the full price of it again. And I'm like, oh, you're gonna have to do better than that. Awesome, there we go. All is fixed. Anything else I want to grab from here? I don't think so. We got a lot of work to do here. Invisible Man. Yes, briefly. Although it says, if you're mean in the chat, Mia will import you into ZBrush and click delete. It is forever. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and delete his eyebrows, but carefully this time. There we go. How about we get some fun poly paint in here, because he is going to be quite literally a green man. No, not green shoes. Green man. I'm also going to make his body as low poly as possible because we're going to be deforming and changing it so much. Which also means we don't really need eyeballs unless I make them like a glossy, scary black. That's fun. I like that. I don't have any gloves in that library, partly because that asset library does not include hands. I do have a separate asset library for that, niftily called shoulder, sleeve, and hand, which I need to open anyhow. There you go. There are still no gloves here. I stand corrected. We'll be making gloves from scratch today. All right, let's grab this for a brief section. If you're just tuning in for the first time, hi, my name is Mia. I'm part of M3DM, which is short for Mia's 3D Models. I make 3D printable models for a living. You were just tuning in at the beginning of my Tavern Keeper's Craft, which is where I start and create a model pretty much from scratch. It's very early on here, and that's a polite way of saying it looks bad. But just stick through. Check back in 30 minutes or so. It'll look cool, I promise. Alrighty. We're fitting this in nicely and adjusting some other components here. I can also delete his funny little modesty shorts now that I am confident that YouTube will not be afraid of what's happening. This Plasmoid Warlock is going to be a ton of fun, and it's also going to have some unique challenges because we want it to look Cthulhu-esque, otherworldly, but we also want the silhouette. Oh, I have not looked at the back of the model yet. Let's go ahead and fix that. We also want it to be recognizable. We don't want him to read as a monster because at the end of the day, he is a player character. He is not like a end boss. I know, who says that can't be the same thing? I guess it could, but that's not what the requester had in mind. When they told me about this character, they did mention, I think his name is Jujubee, which is infinitely funny to me. But he's also, his patron is a Jublex, which funny enough is one of the first models I ever sculpted almost 6 years ago. It was a giant pile of ooze, which I thought with my little beginner ZBrush brain would be easy. It was not. It was not easy. It was actually quite difficult. All right, went ahead and fixed some of this weird clipping issue. I did all of that simply by using the move brush. I'm just laughing at some of the chat here. Mini Blaze, he needs a taller hat. Mini Blaze, I'm gonna have to ask you to contain yourself until another hour or so. These are all placeholders. We have not decided on anything. Calm. Jamie says, I use a free plugin called Ryan's Tools, and when I delete a subtool, it puts them in a trash folder on the palette so I can retrieve them later. Oh, cool. I have seen Ryan's Tools. Personally, I'm not interested for the workflow that I have. I find it a little on the cluttered side, but there are some really cool tools in there. I am familiar with it though. Yes, Mini Blaze, like a rock. Oh, I have some fun polls for you guys to help design this character. So I'm gonna go ahead and close the poll about mini painting sins. Speaking of, we were tied. 35% of you have added a mini to your work in progress hoard, and another 35% have dropped and broken a mini. Shame on you both. Alrighty, let's get a relevant poll in here. The first question I want to ask you guys is, what should the Plasmoid's face look like? As you can tell, I'm asking this first because it's going to come up pretty quickly. You probably think, well, how many different ways could a Plasmoid look? We actually have a lot of different options here. The first one is, it could be a smooth and featureless void. Simple as that. It's just kind of like a large, goopy dinner plate. We could also do a vague, shifting skull shape. This would be cool because it would look asymmetrical, and you guys know I love asymmetrical details. It'd be a little more on the spooky, scary Cthulhu side. Another thing we could do is glowing eldritch eyes that are peering through all of this ooze, so it kind of look like floating eyes. Or we could do a swirling mass of tentacles as his face. I think it's from Naruto, that swirling face mask guy. God, I haven't watched it in so long, can't remember the character. If you know what I'm talking about, great. If you don't worry about it. Alright, I have all of the options in. The poll is now up. Make sure you vote in that because I'm going to be deciding the face somewhat soon. Corey says, Mia, there was an option for haven't painted mini, so I couldn't participate. Sad. It wasn't meant for you, I guess. You should paint a mini. Aloha has a fantastic and very relevant meme she has shared before and after the resin smoothie. Speaking of, I have updated the resin menu today. So, take your drinks. Alright, so far, votes are coming in quickly. I like it. We are tied, we're three-way tie. Peasants. Okay. I'm gonna look back later when there's not a three-way tie. You know, I kept adding more poll options to prevent ties, and I cannot stop you guys. You still do it. Awesome, awesome. Oh, we have a new person that joined the Discord too. I'm not sure if you're in the stream right now lurking, but Harry Potter Bookworm 75 is here. Hello, thank you for joining. I already like you because you picked Tavern Peasant as one of your roles, which I love. Alright, let's continue to get some work in here. The vote is still tied 3 ways. Hindsight is providing some more references. I like the Nautilin face I posted, but without a nose. Let me try and find that. Can you post it again? We have a lot of cool references in there, and I don't want to dig for it. A smooth, featureless void is starting to pull into the lead. Nope, we're 3-way tied again. Okay. Okay. What did I expect? I'm gonna pull up the suit here. Looks good. Alright, time to get some more work done on the suit. There's some aspects I really like, but we need It needs a lot of work still. I think the buttons are much too large, so I'm gonna go ahead and make those smaller. Oh, thank you, Hindsight, for sharing that. Yeah, it's more on the alienoid side, which is very cool. You mentioned that, but without a nose. Yes, I could see that. All right, I don't have a 3-piece suit as of right now. We're looking a little plain. Right now I kind of have like this suit jacket combo going on. I need to change that. Let's remove the buttons entirely and let's start crafting this. I'm gonna have to make this from scratch, aren't I? I will revisit that in a moment. In the meantime, we're gonna work on the pants. This man needs a shirt. This man needs a lot. I'm going to do what I do best, which is avoid working on the model for a second and adjust my light scene. It's like a little peaceful ritual for me. All right, a smooth, featureless void has won the poll, more or less, finally. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's go ahead and start that. I'm gonna start smoothing away. There will still probably be eyes of some sort, but it will be on the featureless side. That means he doesn't need eyes anymore. We're gonna need to cut off his head. There's another way to say that. Okay, we're gonna take his head. Boop. You are now going to be a separate piece because the topology is screaming. All right, I can only do this easily because there are no subdiv. You can always reconstruct later, but eh. All right, we're gonna Dynamesh this. So now we have a nice little blob here. Gonna mirror and weld, so it's the same piece. And now we can really start to play with this since the mesh isn't held down by any restrictions. It also gives me an opportunity to use my favorite brushes of all time, the swirl brush. I'm going to go ahead and zero mesh with half turned on to get a bit of a smoother, even quads. No, it had a meltdown. That's okay. I always win. Go ahead and fix the mesh, smooth out any odd topology in the back. Delete and close holes, and now it'll probably work. Yep, beautiful. All right, we now have a smooth, featureless void. The second lead right now is Eldritch Eyes peering through the ooze, so it's possible that we'll add that later on. But so now we have a good starting point. Well, I really hate the hat he has right now. We will make a new hat. This will probably be a couple day project if I had to guess, because there's a lot going on here. There's also a lot of new assets I need to create. Mini Blaze put a nice disclaimer in the chat. New folks, this is part of the process. She does know what she's doing. It just takes a bit of time to get to the end. It's true. I'm pretty quick too, but it's still going to take a whole tens of minutes. There we go. It's one of those streams that's really satisfying to either watch intently or just check back in every 30 minutes. Win-win either way. All right, we're gonna give him a bit of a longer neck. So since he doesn't have any facial features, we have to be very careful with the forms of the head. I think having a longer neck and kind of a pointed chin is gonna be perfect. I'm gonna come in with Damn Standard and kind of strike out a jawline. See, I tricked you guys. I said featureless void in the chat, in the poll, but technically nothing is featureless. It's the same way water isn't like flavorless, you know what I mean? I'm also gonna strike in these muscles right here. I don't know what they are called, so that's why I just pointed to them. All right, he now has an ooze face. We've done it. going to start coloring the body a bit of a fun color, and I'm actually going to go a step further and put a new material on it. Having a material with a slight shine to it is going to help bring all of it together and have a nice contrast. Gel is a bit harsh. I'm a big fan of using toy plastic. It has a little bit of shine without being too obnoxious. The way that you add a material to just one subtool is click spacebar and then M for material. Then we come to your paintbrush and click fill object. It is applying that material and that nothing else to that subtool. I'll do the same thing for his body. And now I change my materials back to basic. It will keep the shiny material here and change the rest. So there you go. Vinny Blaze says save in case you crash. Joke's on you. It already crashed, but I just didn't say anything. I just grabbed a quick save. But you're right, I will drop a hard save as well. Thank you. Alo says, hey Mia, have you played around with Matchmaker brush much for detailing? I do when I'm feeling spicy and like I want to take a risk. It works okay most of the time. The more complicated your topology, the worse it is. I usually find using, I'm gonna show you guys. The Matchmaker brush is kind of annoying. It's supposed to smush this shape around the mesh. Let's go ahead and grab it. Where is it? There it is. So I click and drag, you'll see this is the before, this is the after. See how it's trying to form to the shape of the suit? It works okay. I also like going to my 3D Gizmo and clicking on Soft Deformer. This is really cool. I'd rather just use this because I can create this grid here and I can have a ton of control over the way it's going to fit to a body. So yes, Soft Deformer, Matchmaker. This one wins. All right, moving right along. We're gonna start detailing the pants because I want at least one thing to look good in the next 30 minutes. Corey says, yes, finally, water does have a taste. I absolutely agree. Hindsight says, a bit of time. Oh, sweet summer child. She is fast as fuck. Yeah, I am. Thank you. I wasn't going to say that. I was kind of like, you know, it's true. You know, if you're not used to 3D modeling, it just seems like I'm a normal speed creator. Aloha says, thank you for the quick demo, ma'am. Of course. Aloha is one of my students, so I do show a little bit of favoritism to her questions. That being said, if you guys do have questions or want quick demos, feel free to ask and I might do it. Thank you, Hindsight, for providing that reference of the suit again, because I really like your reference. I'm going to pull that up. Come on, get to my board. And I'm pretty much going to create that suit exactly. Yep, that looks awesome. Alrighty. Let's get to work. After I do the pants. All right, so these pants are going to be more on the form fit side. And they're also going to be a nice black. So let's go ahead and paint them first to have a bit of contrast. It drives me crazy I'm working on characters with a lot of gray or black because my background is gray. So I know it doesn't look great. It is what it is. Why aren't you painting? There we go. Maybe I can lighten my background. I'm gonna play with my background for just a brief second here because it drives me crazy when it's the same color as the model. There we go, I'll just make it a little lighter, a little bit of a gradient just for today. Speaking of, you can change your background color by going to Document, and then, I can't see it because of my menu. Anyway, you click Document and then click and drag on back. See, that's way too bright. Like, you can see the reflection on my face. I don't want to blind you guys. Trying to pick a better background. No. Sorry for the flashing. I'm all done with that. There we go. That's a bit better. Thank you, Aloha. Voxel says Matchmaker brush is very dependent on the viewport camera. Yes, I really should have said that. Based on the angle that you apply the brush, similar to your move brush, when you hold down Alt, it functions the same way. It will change what it is matchmaking to. Corey says, I think your asset library really helps with speed. That's something I'd like to do if I ever really get into sculpting. I recommend it. It's a huge part of my workflow. Part of the reason why I created the asset library was to maintain speed while I live stream. I am really fast at making assets from scratch too, but I haven't quite figured out how to get lots of work done while talking to you guys, because you guys are fun to talk to. I'm getting better though. All right, so I'm creating these pants here, and it's very important to kind of look at the silhouette. So for the pants that I'm looking at, they have a small taper as we get closer to the feet. I'm going to achieve that by using the pinch brush. All right, we have more of the silhouette I'm going for. Slacks are very sensitive, so from the side, this looks ridiculous. It needs to be a much looser fit. To accomplish that, we're gonna go ahead and mask them, and then use my move brush and kind of just wiggle the pant leg to be a bit looser. Another thing you can do is turn on transparency, and that will allow you to fit the mesh as closely to the body as possible. I have a soft rule that's essentially the body always wins, but depending how muscly I made the body, I will adjust it every now and then. You don't want to get in a habit of just crushing the body through clothes though, otherwise you're going to kind of lose some landmarks that you need to be respecting. All right, there should be a straight line that drops off the back of the calf. We have that. Same thing goes for the front of the knee. I'll be adding some pleats later on to further emphasize this. Looks pretty cool though. I like working with transparency on just for the sake that it looks kind of fun. Corey says, what do you mean by the body always wins? What I mean is I find a lot of beginning students, when they sculpt stuff, let's say if they make the pants way too skinny, like this, rather than fixing the pants, they'll be like, oh, I'll just select the body and just crush that into oblivion. And I'm like, do not do that. Once you make a nice base mesh of the body wins. If you want to significantly change the body, that's fine, but make sure you do it intentionally and don't just start pushing stuff around. I appreciate you asking a follow-up question. What does the pinch brush do? The pinch brush, it pinch. So here's the before, here's the after. I don't even mean to be snarky, but like, that's what the pinch brush does. It pinch. Some things don't need a complicated explanation. All right, the pants are looking pretty good here. It's time to start adding some detailing. Very good. Xander says, I thought I was your favorite. I have many favorites. Corey says, KK, thanks. Yes, I'm glad that was helpful. If you're lurking, please ask questions. I know it's interesting to tune in here and kind of see like what the heck is happening. In short, I make 3D printable models for a living. These are requests from people that support me on Patreon, and this is my full-time job. Pretty awesome. All right, we're making the pants a real thing. There's some steps to this. The first thing I did was, see how it's completely hollow on the inside? That's not 3D printable. We click close holes, bam. Now, it is a real thing. Second, I'm gonna hit crease. That's gonna make it so when I add more resolution, it doesn't make the mesh all mushy. And then we're gonna start extruding some topology off of this to make it more interesting. I have to be careful because slacks are pretty definitionless in some ways. I'm gonna put like the smallest little cuff at the bottom. The rest of this will just need to be sculpted on. Crease, and now I'm gonna hit Command and D for divide, and that's gonna add more resolution to my pants. So see the before and the after. Beautiful. We need to add kind of like some belts, pockets, fabric folds. There's a lot coming on. Diamond Wave is here. Hello, Diamond, and welcome. Is it bad I print the models with an FDM printer? No, of course not. FDM's awesome. I have an FDM printer as well, and I print my minis on there too. I did this one in multicolor on a Bamboo Lab. Obviously, for like little minis, I like to use resin, but I break the rules all the time. This is another thing that I modeled, and this is this really cool like war machine for like Descent to Avernus games. I sculpted this a couple weeks ago. This is on resin. This probably could have been FDM. You can break the rules. FDM is awesome though. Diamond says, so far they've come out, sounds like pretty good. Little stringing once in a while. Pretty normal. As you dial in your settings and usually decreasing your temp and increasing your retraction will help with stringing. The best you can do though is a calibration print though, to find out exactly what your printer needs, because based on the temperature of your room or humidity, all these other factors, it can change quite a bit. All right, so I'm striking in a pleat line right here. And now we're gonna create some seams, all using the damn standard brush with lazy mouse enabled. It's a very lively stream. Thank you guys for being here. It's just so much fun. I'm doing my best to answer all your questions while also getting some real progress done. So if I'm not answering your question, just put @M3DM. It tags my name in orange for me, and it's easier for me to catch it. But if not, sit back, relax, and enjoy the process. We got some cool stuff happening here. I don't know if there's a seam right here. I think so. I think there'll be some like simple pockets. I'll just throw these on right now. Obviously we'll have to develop those more later. I think they're more like this. This is kind of like a quick sketch. I can then come through this later and actually extrude and make these pockets a physical thing. But nothing wrong with just a quick sketch when you're just concepting. All right, we have some more detail on these pants, and the thing that's gonna make this actually look really good are fabric folds, my favorite. To do that, we're gonna use the standard brush. I'm gonna come in here with my Z intensity somewhat high, and then strike out folds wherever there's compression or tension. Yeah, don't do the pocket part. That's what I was thinking. That makes it look more like jeans, but then his butt just looks so plain. It's okay, I'll fix that with fabric folds. See, that's the perk of having like good topology. I was able to smooth that away super, super easily. If this was high res, it would look really weird and mushy. You want to be as low poly as possible for as long as possible. Whenever you're crossing the center line of a model, you want to make sure you turn off symmetry. Otherwise, you're going to end up with some really weird fabric folds. As I piece this all together, just be patient with how all the fabric folds look, because there's a lot of little decisions to be made here. Essentially, I'm just going through with my standard brush to create all of these, and then I'm also removing volume by using Alt held down. You'll notice that I strike in folds and remove them a lot. I'm kind of just experimenting with what shape I'm wanting. That's one of the beauties of working in digital, is that I can very, very easily undo things. You notice a lot of these fabric folds around like the crotch because that's where we move. That's where our legs move the most, so that's why there's going to be a lot of compression and tension folds. See, it came out a little overworked, so rather than trying to re-sculpt it, just undo it. Don't be too attached to any one fold that you're doing. There we go. That came out a lot more simple. It looks better. We'll do another fold around the knees, and I'll go ahead and double check in transparency to see where those knees are actually located. No need to guess. You really gotta trust the process. Fabric folds have an element of randomness to them, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't make sense. As we go and keep working through, it just looks better and better. Oh, just the top line for the pockets. Yes, yes. So, phew, something kind of like that. Yes, that makes sense. I don't wear a lot of slacks, as you guys can tell. Phew, just kind of sketching those on. And then we'll have a couple folds here at the bottom for a bit of a looser fit. Fabric folds are really cool because you can really portray a lot of different information in them. If I have really thin fabric folds and a bunch of them, it's going to show that the fabric is thinner, more pliable. If I do chunky, large fabric folds and fewer of them, it means it's a very dense, woolly type of fabric. And by no means am I the fabric fold master. I just look at stuff in my day-to-day a lot. I look at my own shirts, I see, it's a lot of observation, essentially. Do that, rinse and repeat for 6 years, and you too will start noticing patterns. Or you can just listen to me and I'll tell you. That's also an option. So notice these fabric folds were getting a little too heavy, so I just undid them and redid them really quickly. Again, I'm not too attached to any one stroke that I'm doing. If it doesn't serve the model, I get rid of it. And the more that I practice, the less I have to undo. So it's not about being like haphazard and just doing a lot quickly either. You want to be thoughtful and intentional still. The direction of your fabric folds are also really important. For the most part, they should be abiding by gravity, but not always. We're now at that center point line, so I want to make sure that I turn off symmetry. I tried working on this earlier and I didn't like how it turned out, so I've come back and revisited it. Now I'm a lot happier with the results I'm getting. Hindsight said bingo. Sweet, thank you. I like to go a little heavier on my fabric folds. You would not necessarily see this many, but it's something that I enjoy doing. Adds a bit more detail, since these are all meant to be 3D printed. All right, we have some pretty nice slacks now. You gotta trust the process. If you kind of like look at your model and criticize every little point of it, you're not gonna make any progress. So don't be picky, just keep working, keep working. It's like the keep on swimming. That's like just keep modeling. In my case, it's sculpting. Perfect. All right, we're gonna have to reconstruct this entire vest and make this something cool. It looks like Xander shared something new. Oh, I like that too. Fancy kind of suit. That's more similar to what I have right now, but I really like this 3-piece suit. Oh, thank you, Hindsight, for showing the pocket folds. Those are a lot easier to build up with damn standard then. There we go. Nice. All right, I think we're about time to add another pull here since we picked a smooth, featureless void for his face. Let's consider something new, and actually won by a decent lead. I like it. Alright, so since this is a Plasmoid Warlock, we're going to have a lot of tentacles. It is a Cthulhian-esque horror model, of course. So, where should the tentacles be the most prominent? We can have them on his back, kind of like an eldritch cape. I have more options, I'm just formatting. We can have them emerging from his arms, replacing his hands, so he doesn't have hands at all. And maybe adding a few sets. And we can also have a lot that are spilling out across the base. Again, this is going to be a tabletop mini, so that is an option. We can further like add elements to the character that aren't even on the character by like designing the environment around them. All right. And I finally added an all of the above option. So yes, the vote is now, or the poll is now live, so please vote, peasants. Breathing from the back, emerging from his arms, or on the base. We could pick all of the above. It could defeat the point of the gloves, but we can work with it. Or just making those arms more textured in general. At the end of the day, we can make all the decisions. Artist choice. All right, let's create this vest. The sleeves are fine. There's a few things I don't like. I don't like these little button things. And then these are much too chunky. So let's make them more simple. And more flush with the model. I find that the 3D gizmo in symmetry works quite poorly, so what I like to do instead is just turn off symmetry and mirror and weld later. I'm also smoothing out any of these fabric folds and using my move brush to better fit this. If it fights me too much, I'll simply make it from scratch, but usually I can modify previous assets I've made. Excellent. I see votes are starting to flow into the poll, thank you. Corey said, I put all the above, but maybe not on the arms. Sounds good. I might just make the arms, it'd be a subtle one. Maybe he'll have like almost like a vine that's on top of the suit that kind of like runs down the side. Hindsight says, Shrug, I like my arm and dreads idea. Oh, like dreadlocks, like hair? That'd be interesting. Alright, I do think a thinner build would suit this model more, so I'm going to actually pinch and smooth his arms down a touch. I adjust the body first to make sure the changes I'm making are actually possible. The point is a bit moot considering he is made of plasmoid, he could be any shape. We're still going to follow the rules. And I'll come in with transparency and fit this better. There we go. We definitely need a better vest though. The sleeves I will keep. Let's go ahead and start adding some gradients to the model. Just add some appeal. Maybe some green flourishes here and there. We'll see. All right, the vest does not fit at all. That is a-okay. We're going to delete it and make something new from scratch. Ooh, Xander shared more references in the chat. We're making a bunch of these. These are starting to look a little on the samey side, but ooh, never mind. I like how you're adding all these different tentacle variations. That is fun. I'm the same, like the suit's kind of the same. I'm like, ah, I see that now. That is helpful. Thank you. Hindsight says, I have a very specific image in my head that'd be perfect for the ground tendrils, but I can't remember what it's from. Sketch it. Draw a sketch and put it in our Discord. I'd love to see that. All right. If you guys are curious how you create an asset from scratch in ZBrush, I'm going to be creating the suit, like the shirt part, from scratch right now. So this is a great time to pay attention. The first thing we're going to do for this 3-piece suit is creating the undershirt. It is not going to be long sleeve because we don't need to see that. So the first thing you do is you mask out the shape you were wanting. You can then refine that by using Mask Pen. I use Mask Lasso to really quickly strike in that shape. There we are. So yeah, this is the undershirt. I'm undecided if I'm going to add a a tie. After you've masked out your shape, go to Tool and then Extract. I have it covered in my wine bottle right here. I always extract with 0 thickness turned on because it is easier to control the mesh. Again, you stay as low poly as possible for as long as possible. It is much, much easier to get stuff done that way. I'm going to add some white poly paint. And we're also going to adjust the side, his body here a bit, because he's a little more built than I'm wanting. So I'm reducing the size of his pecs and his lats. We don't need him to have a strongman build. There we go. Okay, we have this undershirt, which looks admittedly more like a block. So we'll use the move brush to kind of fit it to his body a bit better. All right, now that the undershirt has been created, let's add the next layer. We'll have to construct the collar separately. You could sculpt it on top, but trust me, you want as many subtools and as much control as possible. The next step is going to be the vest. There's a couple of ways we can do this. We can actually create it from the base mesh by masking again, or we can create it on top of our shirt. Let's go ahead and do that. Same kind of approach where I mask. I'm going to extract from this, also at 0 thickness. Running a Z-remesher operation on top, but just kind of cleans up the topology slightly. And then I will inflate. Now this is really important because the undershirt I have kind of tucked into his pants, but the vest it's important, it sits on top. So to achieve that, we'll use the move brush. I'm looking at silhouette, I'm looking at overall shape. We are not looking at fabric folds, details, buttons, anything like that. Literally just like lean back and look at like rectangles, triangles, that kind of stuff. Corey asks, what happens if you have thickness turned on? That means your mesh will be real. It will actually have extruded material, such as this. Here is a live demo of what adding thickness to your model looks like. But by adding this, so I can make it really, really puffy or really, really thin. By adding this right away, essentially it's difficult because when I'm adjusting the silhouette, I'm affecting the top polygons and the bottom, and they might shear away from each other. So by having just that outer shell, I want to wait until I like what silhouette looks like before adding uniform thickness all the way around. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, ask again, and I will repeat in a new way. All right. I'm going to bring this vest a little closer together in the center because these are going to be buttoned. And I'll show you guys in just a moment on how we overlap clothing in ZBrush. It's interesting because you're crossing that symmetry line, so there's some things you need to consider. I'm kind of scooting my sleeves over a touch to make sure that everything fits. That's one of the downsides and benefits to having sleeves as a separate subtool, is that you do have very convincing seams because they're quite literally different pieces. All right, right now I'm really paying attention to the way that this folds on the end. I've also modified my smooth brush so that I can actually smooth away the edge. By default, your smooth brush will maintain your edge instead. If you want it to change, the way that you do that is setting your min connected points to 1, which is located under your brush menu, smooth brush modifier, right here, min connected points. Again, it really just depends on what you need it for. All right, we now have 2 pieces out of our 3-piece suit. We now have to create the overshirt or the jacket. Overshirt. Outermost layer. I'm still undecided on the collar or how we're going to create a tie. Corey says, you can go back in later and add the thickness to it. Yes, if I didn't do that, it actually wouldn't be 3D printable because it doesn't exist. It's like a preview of a mesh. It's single-sided. Very good questions. All right, we're gonna close that gap. We're gonna get close to closing the gap here, but we're not going to actually do it. Not yet. Some of the lines here are very easy to fit into looking like a woman's suit, so you have to be very careful with what silhouette lines you're creating. All right, now that we have this, it's time for the outermost layer. Let's go ahead and create that. I think I can create it from this vest shape. So I'm going to just duplicate the vest by holding Control-Shift-D. Clue asks, you use Character Creator 4, right? Yes, my husband does. I give him the stuff to then work in it. I may or may not be able to answer your questions, but please ask and I'll do my best. All right, now that we have this outermost layer, I'm gonna poly paint it a slightly different shade of gray, haha. So I can make sure I can distinguish the 3 layers here. This one is going to have 2 assets as well because it's gonna have that folded lapel. Hey, Empress Tiramisu is back. Hi, welcome back. Well, maybe he likes women's vests. Sad face. You're right. How dare I box him in? I mean, truly, since he is shapeless, the fact that I'm saying he is totally subjective. It is a plasmoid. It could be anything. All right, we're kind of creating a thicker material here. And what's really critical is that we have enough gap here to show the under vest, but also creating a fun silhouette, which is gonna be usually stronger shoulders. Corey's laughs as I heard that chuckle, Mia. Yeah, I am. Oh yeah, by the shades of gray. I haven't done it on stream yet, but like my default laugh, I mean, the laugh I do on stream isn't fake by any means, but when something catches me off guard, I tend to do like this really loud, like, ha. It's a very literal ha. I can't like, I'm glad I haven't done it on stream. It's very loud. It's like a snort, but instead of snorting, it's just literally ha. Ha. I wouldn't say I'm like a quiet person by default because I have no problem talking and being more on the extroverted side, but I'm definitely not a loud person. If I accidentally slam a door, like I will spook myself. And I'll apologize even if no one's home if I slam a door. That happens because I leave the windows open a lot. You know, like the windows will the air from outside will suck the doors closed. Yeah. Scares the crap out of me. All right, we're gonna create these folds that happen. They're not folds. What is it called? Like lapels? Is that what that's called? Empress says, since you do 3D prints, have any of your prints like failed despite careful construction? Print failures are normal every now and then, though my success rate is in the 90s. So here is my aquatic eye aberration that I sculpted like 2 weeks ago. When I first printed this, one of the arms, this arm right here, didn't print. So that was a print failure. But that was because I forgot to put supports right there. So like it printed into the oblivion. I almost kept it because it still looked fine. But I do share these on Patreon with pre-supported files. I need to make sure they actually succeed since people are, you know, giving me money. It needs to not suck. But yes, I do have print failures every now and then. It's less than 10% of my prints. Hindsight says, we gained an Emperor and an Empress in the last couple days. Coincidence? Technically, Emperor Xander, he's been here for a hot minute. Xander is one of the first people to ever commission me darn near 6 years ago. So yeah. Clute says, I just stumbled across a new workflow between ZBrush and Character Creator 4, specifically for 3D printing minis. Man, I'm stoked to implement it. I linked the video in Discord. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I love that, like, when you learn something new, you put it in our community for everyone to see. It means a lot to me. It's like, yes, I enjoy having the Discord server because I can keep my community tight. There's obviously a business side to that of, like, keeping customers around, I guess. That's kind of a weird way to put it. But anyway, another huge perk of that, though, is having creatives like yourself share stuff for us all to learn. And I'm so, so grateful that the community has become that. All right, right now I'm creating those lapels. Yes, si senora, lapels. Thank you. And the way that I do this is kind of neat. I duplicated the mesh again, and now I have the wireframe turned on. I've selected Z Modeler, which is a very, very robust brush that is darn near not even a brush. It is just an entire different program within ZBrush. And now when I hold down Option, I can kind of paint on what polygroups I want. So right now I'm kind of sketching out where these lapels are going to fall. I'm looking at a reference and they fall kind of just below his breastbone, almost like where his hips are. Not hips, but his like waist. So it's kind of like this midpoint. And then the pointiest part is actually way up here. Again, this is like a very jagged shape. That's fine. I'm gonna smooth that out in a second. There we go. And then polish by features and ta-da, we are now smooth. So now that I have this shape up here, I can refine it and pull off the lapels to be the correct shape. But there you go. This is how you construct clothing, just one piece at a time. Don't rush it. Be very thoughtful with your construction. And if you do a good enough job, you can use these in the future to very quickly create new things. So I'm being very intentional right now and methodical because I'm going to keep this so I can then make lots of suits in the future. If you're a new artist, the reality is you're going to find new and better ways to make stuff. So don't be like too attached to making stuff perfect because you're just going to redo it later. But after you've been doing it for 6 years and made almost 1,000 models, you should have a workflow that's reusable. Aloha is celebrating Z Modeler. Yeah, Aloha, if you don't mind sharing, I'm curious how your assignment's going with the dragon. No rush at all. I'm purely just excited for your collab project. Well, I guess that's two separate things, your collab project and the assignment, but they can be the same thing. All right, this is looking pretty good. One of the big key features that we are missing here, though, is the collar, which I put off to last because I hate doing collars because I don't have a good workflow for those yet. All right, this part of the vest does need to be significantly shorter, or not vest. We have a jacket, a vest, and an undershirt. Gosh, three-piece suits are complicated. I see why they haven't changed much in the last decade. We kind of figured it out, didn't we? He's looking so dapper, though. Xander, 6 or 7 years, but who's counting? Xander's referring to how long they've been around and supporting my art. I mean, you being here supports my art. I don't know if you were ever actually part of my Patreon. I can't remember. Or if you just did commissions from me. I actually can't remember. Xander, do you still 3D print stuff? Because honestly, if you had stuff you wanted to commission from me, I don't do commissions anymore, but the request board would be perfect for you. It's $15 a month. It's a hell of a lot cheaper than my commissions. All right, I have a piece here that I use to create colors. Let's see how good of a job I did creating it. And if I put it in the right folder. I didn't. This is literally my collars and shirts folder, and it's not here. Sad. That's fine. I put it somewhere. I'm gonna find it. I didn't put it in items, did I? I probably put it in headgear. There it is. Good job, me. So it takes a lot of time to create these base shapes and get them correct, right? However, once you detail them, it happens pretty darn quick. So just keep that in mind. Do not rush the process. If you're like, oh man, it took me 30 minutes just to create like a suit, you know, like the layers, that's fine. That's good. Because adding some fabric folds doesn't take very long. And that's something on my streams that happens a lot. So people will watch and kind of tune in. And they'll be like, okay, yeah, she's kind of working at a decent pace. It's pretty slow. I'll check back in 30 minutes. And then like within the last 10 minutes, the model looks completely different. And they're like, what the heck? What did I miss? This is like the rough, like if you're a writer, this is the rough draft. This is 80% of your work. All like the editing, and editing can be more work. That's a bad comparison. Anyway, think of more like a cake. Adding like sprinkles at the end is very, very fast. It's the impressive part that makes the cake look pretty, but it doesn't take very long. Yeah, I had to go back on that because editing for a book is actually like the most time consuming process. Anyway, we have this nice little collar here, which is extremely low poly. I literally made a like cylinder and manually grabbed each point and folded it down to create this. So again, it was actually like this all the way around. And then I pulled each piece down to create this collar. And that's why I saved it into a base mesh, because I obviously don't want to do that every time. Corey says, Mia, no, that change happens like in 2 minutes. I stepped away for a minute the other day and the sculpt was crazy when I came back. This is true. Below it says, all of the actual work of the model that you see in any piece was set in place with the early messy blob design, not the details. You're correct. Xander says, how do you make a kobold, right? I don't think so. I remember doing like a female like warrior princess kind of thing. It was so long ago. Maybe a witch? I can't remember. All right, guys, I need to give him a tie, don't I? I don't know if I have a tie. If I do, I don't know if I put it in my asset library yet. Tie. Ooh. Bow tie. I don't think so. Either way, I need this to be a lot closer together, so we're gonna pull this collar together. Nice and careful. I'm gonna go ahead and add another edge loop just to give myself more to work with. There we go. And we're manually scooting it over. It's not glamorous, but it works. Come here. There we go. This is why I hate doing collars. Oh, I did this out of symmetry? What are you doing over here? What is this? Haha. See, now it looks super ugly again. Oh my god, collars are so sensitive. That's okay. I will win. I'll look confused doing it, but I will win. Crabbit. What the hell is a crabbit? I'm also undoing that because that collar looks super ugly now. Bam. That looks good. We're gonna find out what a cravat is. Am I saying that right? Oh! Like a little foldy thing. Okay. Yeah, I've done those before. And then I can keep this collar I made. Yeah, I like that. Win-win, because I tried to move this around and it looked bad. All right, so a cravat looks like it is just a folded piece of cloth. Also like a neck thing. Yes, this is actually way up more my wheelhouse of things I know how to make. We got the main poof here. I'm gonna make this a little taller. And then I'm gonna take this section right here, duplicate it, move it forward, cut off the back section, hide it, close holes, Dynamesh. Now I've got a blob. I love having a blob. I'm gonna keep Dynameshing and creating this new shape. I'm using the move brush and Dynamesh a bunch to tuck this in. Come here. I'll need to close up this vest a little bit for it to work, which is a-okay. And then this will have more fabric folds in it. It needs to not be pure white because it's very hard to look at when it's pure white. Cravat. Cravat. Fancy ascot, basically. Okay, sounds good. And yeah, an ascot could work too. Yeah, I've heard of that. Cravat. It doesn't help that I'm not saying like it's a real word. Cravat. Live streams are fun. They're kind of an excuse for me to not take myself so seriously. I want to say like in the real world, but technically this is the real world. I don't know. Anyway, in my day-to-day life, I take myself very seriously. Way too seriously. I don't think it's a good thing. And I'm working on it. I feel like on live streams I get to be a bit goofy. And I enjoy that. Alright, the way everything fits is really important, and these look somewhat tight. And I also have to go through and keep adjusting this dumb undershirt. Alright. And then hindsight says, edit the pronunciation guide. Oh, that makes even less sense. Cravat. You know, I'm gonna look this up. Alright, nope. Cravat. Alright, come on, Google. Pronounce. There it is.
Cravat.
Cravat. Haha. Ah, I now see what you put. Ah. Cravat. I like what I was saying. We are going to end up with so many new pieces for my asset library from this model. Oh my goodness, it's not even funny. How have I come this far without making fine piece suits? I guess I haven't sculpted very many gentlemen's. I'm going to squish that down, duplicate, and create another layer. We're going to mirror it for some variety. And then make this puffy. Oh, I have to sneeze. Or not. So I'm adding these fabric folds the exact same way that I handled the slacks, which is just using standard and just striking out some shapes. I say striking out shape because I'm like kind of doing this aggressively with my hand. Alright, this needs to fit differently as well. Oh, it's all so sensitive. But it's gonna be worth it and really cool. And these are gigantic. These are way too big. Boop. Where are all my things? There they go. All right, we're actually a decent way through the Tavern Keeper's Craft. That is like the main segment here where I create a new model. I'm pretty happy with all the work we've gotten done. There was a lot to do. Okay, if ZBrush is either doing dumb crap like this, where I asked to ZRemesh this and it split it into 2 pieces and polygrouped it, dumb, right? The way you fix that is go to Geometry and then Edge Loop. Put in some panel loops like this. You are gonna lose some of like the sharpness if you have that, but then when you go to ZRemesh, it will be less dumb, I guarantee it. See? Looking pretty good. He's looking really snazzy. Now I gotta fix that dumb hat. How long should I make this coat thing in the back? Should we do like 2 tails? Or just 1? What are we thinking for that? Also, we want tentacles everywhere. I hear you guys loud and clear in the poll. I have 1 more. This one I'm less decided on. What eerie detail should we add for extra creepiness? I was thinking maybe a floating eldritch tome, maybe like bound in one of the tentacles. I gotta edit this because I got limited count. A second smaller face forming somewhere in the ooze. Strange runes glowing beneath its translucent skin. That just means runes throughout. Or a gaping maw in its chest lined with teeth. This makes it a mimic. This would mean there'd be 2 versions of the model because that is too far from the requester's original request. So I need to make sure you guys know that. All right, I went ahead and put that vote up. Again, what eerie detail should be added for extra creepiness? A floating tome bound in the many tentacles surrounding the model. A second smaller face somewhere in the ooze, maybe on the base. Strange runes throughout, or a gaping maw. So its chest is going to be a giant mouth with a bunch of teeth. If you guys pick that, I will low-key love you guys because 1, it's a really cool idea, but 2, it's going to force me to make 2 different models. We will use this model, of course. This will be kind of like, so I sculpt a lot of mimics as well. If you're not familiar with tabletop games, mimics essentially is where you take like everyday little objects like this chicken, little cute chicken, and then you have another version of it that it's full of teeth and it opens up and tries to eat adventurers. They pose as everyday objects. So in this case, it'd almost be like we had a normal version of him and a mimic version of him. So yes. Hindsight says, Eldritch tomes are to Mia what necklaces are to Blaze. Absolutely. If you've been around, you get the reference. Beautiful. Mini Blaze suggests a tentacle holding his book, maybe also a wand or a staff. Very cool. It'd be cool to have tentacles just holding stuff in general. I agree. All right. It's a small confetti moment. This entire stream, we've almost had 20 people hanging out. I'm not sure how many of y'all are new or how many of y'all are regulars. I see a lot of familiar faces in the chat, but this is my like direct chat to you guys, lurkers and newcomers alike. Please join the Discord channel. I would love to have you there. We have a lot of cool conversations happening. It's the best way to stay current. A lot of you guys really just fit the vibe, and I want you to be part of the community in the future too. I stream almost every day, so I'd love to have you back. All right, that poll is active and live. Thank you guys for voting in that at the very least. We're 50-50 right now between a floating tome and then a gaping mouth in his chest. Maw is just a more fun way to say that. It's been a less assuming model, so I think it's time to add some tentacles. I have a really cool way to add tentacles. So as a thank you for all you guys for being here, here's another fun thing to learn in ZBrush or just to watch. If you want to add tentacles really quickly, the best way to do it is using a curved brush. Most brushes in ZBrush, you kind of click and you drag and it does whatever that brush function is. A curved brush is a step above that. It essentially takes a piece and repeats it. So if you take a tube and repeat it, you'll end up with a tentacle. There's a default one called curved tube. So when I click and drag, check that out. Now we have really quickly this dynamic. What's really fun with curved brushes is see this dotted line right here? If you click and drag, you can move this whole mesh about. Isn't that fun? And you can like loop it on itself. There are some physics that happen here. It's pretty awesome. If I want to go a step further, because let's be real, tentacles are not uniform all the way out. They really have a nice taper to them. You can modify your curve brushes by going to stroke, curve modifiers, and you have intensity and size. There's a little bar right here that's very unassuming. If you click on it, it opens to this graph. This is describing the behavior of this brush. Intensity is the only thing on here. If I enable size, this graph will now affect the size. So if I flip this to be a negative linear, that means as this curved brush extends, it will decrease in size because it's a negative linear. It's like a secret math lesson here. Everybody leaves. So now if I click and update, you'll see that it generates that curve I created. How cool is that? You can really play with this to add more nodes. Here we go. So I have a couple nodes here, so it's going to decrease and then increase and then decrease again. Imagine what that's going to look like. Kind of think about it for a second. Okay, and now I'm going to click. Were you right? This is really cool if we're going to add like big teeth and scary like hitters on the end of the tentacles. But we're going to go on the simpler side here and just have a nice subtle taper. Something like this. There we go. But yeah, I want to show that to you. So now it's going to keep that. I can click and drag and we can make a bunch of these. Something that's going to help as well is if I click on lock start, which means that right now when I click and drag, it'll pull it off the model and we don't want that, right? I would like if it stays in that initial spot and then I can adjust it from there. So to make that happen, I just go to stroke, curve modifiers, or somewhere in here. What the heck is it? I'm gonna find it. Here we go. Stroke, curve, and then lock start. There are so many little buttons and menus. Oh my God. That's why I have my own custom UI here to help me keep track of stuff. Miniplays also likes the idea of having little suckers on the end of the tentacles. That could be really cool. All right, we have one set of tentacles, but I'm going to add a lot. This isn't set in stone, especially because we are going to be posing the model. It's not just gonna be like this stiff mannequin. And I'm gonna adjust these to complement whatever resulting model we have. There we go. Let's go ahead and add some poly paint because these are supposed to be part of him. I find color spray is a great setting to enable here because it's going to pick a bunch of different colors that are around the screen. All right, let's see the whole thing. Has a little bit of variety in there. Not as much as I'd like, so I'll change the color. There we go. And then let's add a black ominous taper on the edge here. Pretty cool. I'm gonna add some shadow to the top of his head. It just makes him look a little spookier. Looking a little Slender Man-y. All right, so currently in the lead is a floating tome bound in tentacles. I love that you guys are voting for that because it is supposed to be a Warlock, and as you know, most Warlocks have a handy dandy tome they carry around with them. Unlike a sorceress where their magic is more innate, they wouldn't need to reference like a book to draw power from. Well, if we want to have a tome added, even if the votes change, I can add that in right now by going to items. And let's use this one with these like little spooky runes on them. And tentatively, we'll just kind of throw it up here. Let's add some like purple glow to it. Very nice. Hindsight says, I told you should have kept the non-goofy alien eyes. Oh, I know, because this means he can't read if he doesn't have eyes, does he? I didn't think about that. You know, in a world of magic where we have a plasmoid in the shape of a man, would eyes really limit him from reading? Maybe this whole tome is made from Braille. You don't know. Alright guys, we're going to start concepting a base in this last little section of my Tavern Keeper's craft. So if you have any cool ideas for a base, just let me know. Overall, I'm really, really proud of the amount of progress that we've made. Empress says, maybe he licks pages to read them. Oh my god, I hate that. I love that is canon now. Yep. This guy takes one of his tentacles, moves it in front of him. His other tentacles just like touch the pages, and that's how he reads. Awful. Thank you. Love that visual. This is why I keep you guys around. I have the most creative peasants in the land. I really do. So I'm beginning to create this base here. Everything I make is 28mm scale. Later on, I measure it to make sure that it's accurate, but for now, I just kind of eyeball it. And of course, we'll have even more tentacles rising from this. Am I saying the word tentacles too much? Just living my best life out here. I would like for these ones to come from the back of his feet. So it's kind of like it's part of the model. Another thing I could be really clever with here is using these tentacles as built-in supports. For all of y'all that 3D print, you'll know how helpful that can be. Alright, I like these shapes here, but I want to make sure it doesn't get too samey, so we're going to add a couple that are out of symmetry. Or just the one is fine. And then these will have the same treatment where I darken them. Another fun texture we can add here is coming into our Chisel Organic. Not quite this one. Chisel 3D. They're called like the same thing. Yes, this is the one I wanted. There's some really fun, wild shapes in here we can kind of play with. But first, let's rough up the base by using my standard brush. Just making it not perfectly smooth goes a long way. There we go. Now let's add some spooky, gross, eldritch horror, Cthulhu-esque goop. It's very important to have backface mask enabled. If you don't, this happens. It goes through the mesh. It's very annoying. If I turn on backface mask, aha, it is not annoying. You might be wondering why not just have backface mask enabled all the time? It messes up other brushes is the short answer. All right, so I'm gonna use this to kind of layer in some cool grossness. That is the official artistic term. All right, we have a fun texture on here. Pretty cool. Alrighty, so for our Tavern Keeper's craft today, the goal was to draft out a Plasmoid Warlock. He was supposed to be in a suit with driving gloves. I did not give him gloves yet. With a stovepipe hat, Lord, and be Cthulhu-esque. I think we really nailed it. I'm pretty happy with this. To accomplish this, and we've only been streaming for 2 hours, and the first 30 minutes of this was just a warm-up on a totally different model. So we accomplished this in about an hour, hour and a half. Pretty happy with that. If you like what you see, please like the stream and subscribe to the channel. It makes a huge difference, and I stream every single day. So I'll see you guys tomorrow at pretty much around noon Eastern time. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. The fact that there's been like about 20 people the whole stream really hypes me up, because that's more people that would fit in my room by a lot. So just to have that many people that are interested in watching my art and hanging out with me, I don't take it for granted. I really appreciate it. So thank you a lot. We work on something different every day, and there's a ton of variety because my whole business is about tabletop minis, and you guys know how diverse and different tabletop games can get. Everything is a request. If you want access to my hundreds of 3D printable models, they're all pre-supported and test printed by me and my husband. That's on Patreon. It's as cheap as $7 a month to get access to almost 1,000 models. If you want to request a model, that's $15, and I make it on the stream, so it's a good time. At the very least, though, subscribe and hang out. We're happy to have you here. Yes, and on the weekends, I do silent streams. So I don't have a mic, I just have some nice fancy music playing and we hang out. I really encourage you guys to maybe work on your own mini paints projects, or just get like a nice tea or coffee and kick back and relax. That starts tomorrow. Thank you guys for putting all the info in the chat. Hindsight says, this is gonna sound pedantic, because it is, but I don't like the book up high because it reads, hey, look at my book, isn't it cool? I think you're just traumatized from living with a small child of like the constant look it. Very funny though. Speaking of though, I'm not certain what kind of pose I want to do, so if you guys have any ideas for poses, let me know. There is a lot of work left to do on this model, but I'm really proud of how much progress we made, especially because how lively the stream was. It's very challenging to not be distracted by y'all, because you're fun and you're funny, and like I want to just sit here and talk, but this is my full-time job. Ooh, gross, Hindsight. I love the things that you shared, the references in the Discord. That poor woman. Very cool. Looking at the base design stuff, very cool. Just checking base with our Discord and all the cool comments and ideas. Hindsight, I already made a post suggestion. You never take anything I say seriously. Sometimes your suggestions are very difficult to implement, but they're really cool. Obviously, I know you're joking, because you're pretty much the reason why this model came out as cool as it does. The CB holder. Was the post suggestion in the chat, or was it in the Discord? Corey says he's coming together. He really is. I'm so happy with this. Oh, is that like him readjusting gloves for a post suggestion? Because that would be fire. I'm gonna screenshot that and make sure I send it to my husband for when he poses this. How's that for taking it seriously? Hindsight says, no, I just like messing with her at this point. I'm so easy to mess with. That's why a lot of my friends like me. Again, I take myself very seriously, so like, it's very easy to tease me. All right. I'm putting Warlock pose anyway, because it's cool. I like that idea. Gosh, This looks really cool. All right, I'm gonna mess with the lighting a little bit because it's one of my favorite things to do, and we're missing some of that shininess. He's gotta look shiny. Oh, I didn't color his tentacles. God, why is that so funny to me? Going to paint, enabling M for material, and now I select a different material such as toy plastic. I can apply it just to individual parts of the model. So when I return to my normal skin shade, you'll notice that these have stayed shiny, but the rest of it has not. Pretty cool. I know that the patient that requested this forever is going to love it. Like most of my legendary patrons, he's been around for a long time. He's a huge supporter of my art, and he's gonna dig it. You know, it's funny because I have like, oh goodness, I think I have more than 50 people that are in my legendary tier, maybe even 60. So that's 60 people giving almost $15 a month. But out of those 60, only like 10 of them actually put in requests every month. And everyone else is just so happy with those requests that they just stay in the tier. Plus they also get access to like all my exclusive collections. But I find that really cool that I have like a core hub of people that are making these really unique requests, and everyone else is like, cool, I like it. I got my creative font. I have the actual creative that makes the stuff, and the rest of y'all are just happy to be here. I love it. Just Lingual says, I'm afraid of looking up ooze and slime references. I get you. I was too. Mini Blaze, Mia, how do you measure the base in Mini? I know scaling is a part of it, but what do you do? Essentially, I reference it in that really ancient software I use, Mesh Mixer, and I can click and drag and measure it exactly. You only need to measure it exactly once, and then it kind of serves as a ruler of sorts to then measure your other minis against it. Do you want to give him sunglasses too? No. Too modern. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to go on break now. It's been 2 hours and I need a coffee or a water or something, and then I'll be back. It's currently 2:20. I'll take a really short break here. I'll be back by 2:30. Thanks for being here, seriously. Also, join the Discord, join the peasants, be one of us. It's free. It's totally free. Then you're like part of it. I really take your guys' input seriously so you can see the behind the scenes or become part of the scene, sharing your own creative ideas with me for me to implement live on the fly. It's just a fun thing to be part of. There's really nothing to lose. I have almost 900 people in the Discord right now. So if you're also an artist looking for a place to like self-promote your own work, do so. I'm super supportive of other artists, and I have an entire channel just for you to share your stuff. Whether it's commissions, getting feedback on work you're doing, all that stuff. We're really creator friendly, and I have the best peasants in the world. They're great. They really are. All right, I'll be back in about 10 minutes or so. Bye. Hello, I'm back, and welcome to Happy Hour. Happy Hour is where I pick a specific little goal, whether it's like making a brand new asset or maybe some detail on a pose, and you just do that for the next 30 minutes. It's kind of like a little palette cleanser after working on the same, in this case, tentacle boy for an hour and a half. Alright, what is Happy Hour today? I think we were all really enjoying the Hodag earlier, or I can deal with the loot again. We're gonna deal with the Hodag. It's Hodag time. Oh, but first I have to get a fun screenshot of this guy. Perfect. Oh, Hindsight brought up Gungnir again. That is a staff for Odin. So if you were here yesterday or if you missed it, let me show you. We started designing Odin yesterday. This was all done on stream, just like our little tentacle boy here. We started with the same base mesh actually, and then ended up here. All right, we need to create this staff. Yeah, we'll do that. We have some really good references for that. Alrighty. I was a menace, and I did get rid of the livestream references channel because I wasn't thinking. So I need that reference again for come here. Alright, I found one that is similar. Jamie says, welcome back, Mia. Thank you, Jamie. Corey says, I missed yesterday, but that's awesome. Yeah, I'm really happy with it, and we're going to incorporate Hunin and Yunin, which are Odin's two ravens. That is a different language for thought and memory. Kind of a cool thing. Hindsight. See? She never listens to me. Oh, I just moved all of ZBrush. Come back. I've repaired the tavern. We're fine. We're fine. Yeah, I'm not going to listen to you today because I yeeted my reference for that by accident. If you find it again, please share. Yes, I know, I'm sorry. This is why I have these much more organized projects within Discord, so it won't happen again in the future, I promise. Alright, I'm going to bring up our Hodag and work on him. Oh, I see that Hindsight started their own anatomy reference post. I'm excited to see you kind of like use that as your own bit of like work to, you know, get back into art, and then it's also helpful for everyone else too. I like it. All right, in the meantime, I'm gonna work on this cute boy. Oh, you found the reference again. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna put that to a vote. What you guys want me to do for Happy Hour. Are we going to detail the Hodag or create the spearhead from scratch? Let me know what you guys want to see. I have that poll live right now. I'm gonna have it open for about a minute or so because Happy Hour is not very long. It's like this cool down 30-minute period. So I won't spend too long here. Beautiful. The Hodag's really cool though and kind of fun to work on detail. So as of now, we're 50-50. We've got a vote for each. I'll wait for us to get to at least about 5 votes or so. Thank you guys again for being here. By watching the streams, one, it makes me very happy, but it all really helps. Mini Blaze says, Hindsight, I saw an ad from the company that they have ZBrush for iPad. Is that what you have? Yeah, I'm not sure if Hindsight uses ZBrush or if they're just a good artist in general. Yeah, nope, I don't think so. Corey says, Mia, thank you for streaming and letting us hang out. It really is just a nice vibe around here. I have the Huon Canvas. Fantastic tablet. All right, looks like the model spearhead from scratch is barely winning. I'm gonna leave it up for about a minute more or so. So if you haven't voted, please vote. I'm scrolling through our Discord. We have some really good references. They're popping up, as well as new stuff in the tips and tricks. Tips and inspo section for 3D modelers. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. Thank you guys so much for voting. I'm gonna go ahead and work on that spearhead from scratch. I'm gonna keep the Hodag up while I work on it, because he's cute. Oh, my UI blew up. I'm not sure why. Don't do that. It's okay. Alrighty. Well, I haven't worked with something this complicated, really ever, so I'm excited to do this with y'all. My modeling skills are in their infancy, but all the more reason to share them on stream, right? I used to feel silly about this. I think it was Cassie and Aloha, even Hindsight, that were really clear that me showing this learning process of mine on stream is also very helpful. It takes the pressure off. Just Lingual asks, when does Hindsight get Taver wages? I know, right? Him and Mini Blaze. You guys are fantastic. You keep the whole place running. And do we get free refills on resin? Oh, absolutely. And there's a new menu today if you haven't gotten a drink yet. Aloha chimes in right away. Really, I have my 3 staff members would be Aloha, Hindsight, and Mini Blaze. You guys are so consistent. Alrighty, we're gonna start designing this thing. Wish me luck. We're roughly gonna follow number 10. Corey also agrees. It is helpful, Mia. I agree with them. And Corey is specifically talking about me figuring stuff out on stream. I don't model very often. I'm really a sculptor at heart, so this is really hard for me. But I'm getting better. I'm getting a lot better. Right now, I'm using the 3D Z modeler brush to block out this shape, and I'm referencing something that's in our Discord under the miscellaneous post, under project references. In case you're wondering what the heck is going on, that's where you can find it. So the first step here is I am really just following the reference. I'm noticing all of the subtleties. So we obviously have this kind of wedge shape here, but another interesting point is there's a really subtle taper that happens from the bottom up. I'm also removing edge loops as needed to make this as simple as possible. Hindsight says, I'll accept the mod position when she really blows up. You're one of the first people I'm gonna ask, so I'm glad that you say that. Aloha says, yes, please more new stuff you're less experienced with. I don't know why I did to deserve y'all. I have the best peasants. Like, that makes me so happy. Because I want to learn too and get better still, so. Having the encouragement to not have to be, you know, like perfect on stream, it's a relief. It's really nice. How do I get this edge loop up here? So this is like my first like confusing problem. Is I added an edge loop, and when I add it right here, it makes sense to me. But when I add it this way, it kind of wants to hang out in the middle, which is really interesting. I really want it up here. Interesting. What if I put that here as a block? And then can I move these points? Let's open the Z modeler brush, hover over a point, and then click on move. Yeah, free move. I bet you I can move this point now. I can. Ooh, look how angry it gets. Something interesting is happening. What? Cool, we're gonna figure it out. This is something to do with the free move and attraction valence. That's what's happening. So it's trying to smart click. I don't want that. I want it to stay on the surface, and I do not want it to, I'm gonna reduce the attraction to 0 by clicking no attraction. Let's see what that does. Yeah, that pretty much fixed our problem. What's interesting is we had a polygon that flipped onto the back side here, and that's why we're getting really odd results. Haha. So we troubleshooted 2 things. 1, we found out how to move points specifically. And 2, we found out how to troubleshoot when a new polygon flips onto the backside, which I can just mask and delete. Yes, you are correct, Mini Blaze. Can you do an insert loop? Yes, that is what I'm doing here. Insert edge loop. Unless there's a different kind of, loop. Interesting. We ended up really not needing to have it at all, but it was cool to play with. This is actually a benefit for not having double turned on. I usually have double turned on when I have single face mask or polys, so I can remind myself to add thickness later. But by not having it on, I was able to see that there was more polys on the back that it kind of appeared. So that's kind of a good thing to know. Okay, let's continue here. One of the tricks that I do with hard surface, so we're dealing with this one right here specifically. Instead of trying to combine different shapes, I'm not gonna do that to myself because I'm so new. I'm really gonna just focus on trying to replicate this. A trick you can do is insert your reference right here. Come on. Let's see, hindsight says, oh, never mind. I reread the same thing. We're good. Very good. Trying to grab this image here because it's being silly. There we go. I'm going to show you guys something cool once it's done being pedantic. All right, there we go. Something you can do is you can grab your reference, and instead of taking the time to insert it into ZBrush and being fancy with Spotlight, you can just overlay it right here and then scroll your see-through menu. It's usually at the upper right. So let's see how close I got. Not bad, not bad. I made my design a little bit too short, but for the most part, I think I deserved a little round of applause for how close I got that shape just by glancing at it. Adamus is here. Hello, welcome, welcome. I recommend this a lot for all of my beginners too, which is don't just trace your shapes, look at them, refine your artistic eye, and then double check your work. Bam. So that is our correct shape now. And then from here, I can start to, thank you guys for the confetti in the chat. I can see you guys doing it. Alrighty. I will incorporate some elements of 8 later on by adding those little like ridged wings. Golf clap. You guys are so sweet. God, I love it. I love the support. I really do. I created like a fancy triangle and I am hyped about it. So I appreciate you guys are also hyped about it. Alrighty. Moving on. We have our primary shape created here. The next step is our secondary shape. And this is really interesting because we need to get an edge all the way around it. When I click on dynamic, this happens. Dynamic is the way that I add thickness to a model. The first thing that's wrong here is I have my smooth subdiv enabled, which is why we are losing our entire shape. So I'm gonna take my smooth subdiv and put it onto 0, fix. We do want higher resolution though. So the way we can do that is enabling flat subdiv, and that's kind of a win-win all the way around. I'll turn my flat subdiv to 1, and now we can start creating some thickness here. I'm gonna click and drag. There we go. Because this is for 3D printing, we are going to go on the chunkier side. Just like that. Now we click apply. So this is now a real thing. Before you click apply, it is just like a simulation. It's just showing you what the thickness might look like. And then Aloha is elaborating on, if you're new here, or if you've been here a long time, I don't do a lot of modeling. This is new for me. So I'm talking very confidently about things I know how to do, but I am still learning right now. Aloha mentions something that not many tutorials or seminars cover is the pure frustration nearly everyone will face when doing something new. Having experienced artists try out things they don't normally go for is so helpful. And you guys get to see the way that like I kind of laugh a lot of things off and I just keep trying new things. I make it a game to iterate solutions to my problem as many times as possible. And that's my engineering background showing. I have a fun saying that I say in my day-to-day life all the time, which sounds pessimistic, but it's not. That's why I say it, which is nothing ever works ever. That's it. I mean that. Nothing ever works ever. And when that's your perspective on things, you get really good at iterating new solutions to your problems without being frustrated. Because I expected it to not work, because nothing ever works. Ever. I'm going to crochet that or cross-stitch that into a pillow. Corey says, what's the difference between modeling and sculpting? Sculpting is for my soft shapes and organics, like this lovely hodag we made. And modeling is more of like this point by point, where you're grabbing specific vertexes, which is where 2 points meet on a shape, and dragging those around. So yes, on the left, we have sculpting. On the right, we have modeling. All right, we now have this shape here. I want to extrude an edge, and I don't really know how to do that. So one thing I know I could try is I could insert an edge loop on the side, and then perhaps I can click and drag with my move brush out to create this edge. I don't know if this is gonna work. So one problem I found immediately is that it's sensitive to my camera angle. So it came out all wobbly and gross, right? So what's a way I could fix that? Well, I can turn off perspective and I can grab my move brush again and hold down Alt. And that should pull straight towards the camera. So perhaps that will be a flatter way to do that. One thing that happened though is I didn't know how far I was extruding. So I'll need to come back on my front view to adjust it. But I would say, tentatively, that's a success. It does require, you know, some finessing and fine tuning. But for the most part, I mean, that was pretty cool. Corey says, okay, yeah, I'm glad that you learned something new. We can go ahead and double check our base shape here because I've made some changes. And I've lost a little bit of that primary shape as a result. So let's go ahead and adjust this according to that. Okay. We'll line up some new points here. Like that. There we go. And then it's really on the thick side because it's 3D printable, but it is pretty nice. I'm proud of this. Let's make it the right color. Yes. Another thing I've noticed is that the front is different than the back. I could have prevented this problem by enabling symmetry on both axes, but I forgot. So how do I fix it now? Well, simple. Mirror and weld. I believe it's gonna be the Z-axis. Okay. It was the Z-axis, but the problem here is that it's not centered in the scene, so it made 2 copies. How do you fix that? Control Z to fix it, go to deformation, and then unify. It changed the size, but more importantly, it took my object and put it dead center in my scene. So now, when I click mirror and weld, it works, kind of. Another problem we had is that we have a new edge forming. Man, this is helpful. I can see why this is helpful, guys. Because I do know the solutions. Okay, the reason why that happened is because it is mirror and welding across, like left to right, and I want it to go the other way. I can't change the direction that mirror and weld happens, but I can mirror my model. So if I go to mirror with Z turned on, flip it this way, and now do mirror and weld, now it worked perfectly. I am a little mind blown by how many things just went wrong, because nothing ever works ever. And I was able to explain every single solution back to back. I am really starting to see why this is valuable, and I need to do this kind of content more on stream. I will do that. I will. Even though I'm a little proud of just how helpful that was. Aloha. Wait. Yes. Let me know what it didn't make sense, please, and I will let you know. Aloha said you can reverse the mirror and weld. Kind of. The way that you trick it is that you just mirror the object first, because mirror and weld will always happen across the same axis. But all you have to do is just mirror your object and then mirror and weld, and bam, you're in business. I love that you guys are all confused. Mini Blaze. What? Keep asking questions. Let's see. Adama says, it is common in the blacksmith trade that when you weld on more steel, you have to refine the edge. Oh, interesting. Kind of like what I just did. Oh, that's really cool. I love when, like, modeling digitally, when I'm trying to recreate the shape, but the process kind of mimics the real life process. I love that. I always think that's really cool. One thing that I'm trying to do that I think would be important is I'm paying a lot of attention from the main front face here to this pink edge that we have. I think that might portray how sharp it looks. I'm not sure. Like, if this was thinner, is that a better appearance or is that a worse appearance from what we're wanting? Here's the after and here's the before. It's two very different looks and I'm not sure which one I would like more. I think I like the before better. Hindsight says, Mia, a spearhead topology suggestion and reference for you. So this is a really good example. Like, topology, usually I don't care about. But for modeling, I would, because it helps with the construction process. Oh, I see. You know, the way that I think I'm going to handle the decoration, that is super valid and really cool what you showed me. And if I was going to approach it in that way, I would have used extrude edge instead. But since I made just the main base shape because I want to use it in the future, I actually plan to get those internal details by using booleans. But that's absolutely a valid way. So if I go to render in live boolean, I can now insert a cube. And of course, you guys know I love my good old Q cube. Let's make this really small. Extrude all the way through. And now I'm going to change it in my subtool menu to subtract. And it's going to happen live. It's not actually real. It's just a preview. But I can take this here and I can start moving it around. One thing I know I need to fix right away is I need to make sure that I have mirror, or I have symmetry turned on. So we're gonna make that smaller. We're gonna go to Z transform, activate symmetry, and turn on Z. So now when I adjust this side here, it's gonna go on both sides. Okay. Now that I have that, I can open up my reference again, lay this on top, and I can reconstruct. When I do the Boolean operation, it's gonna create the grossest topology you ever did see, but that's okay, because it's just for a detail. All right, I'm gonna have my move brush enabled, and we're gonna kind of just drag out this shape here. Just like that. And there we go, we got one. I can go ahead and do mirror and weld. Didn't do the best job, so let's just move it over a touch. I can duplicate these and then create these forms again on top. Usually I wouldn't copy stuff so exactly from a reference. I will be careful about where this is from in copyright, but as of right now, we're kind of just learning together. Some of it looks really odd, and that's just because of the preview. So don't you worry. I'm gonna add like some really nice bevels to this before it's complete. Like, for example, I don't know why it's showing that face, but not on the other side. Don't worry about it. All right, and this is our final one here at the top, just like this. And I'm actually gonna go through and remove these cubes that I use because they got really wobbly and really ugly. And we don't want that. Instead, I actually really like the subtraction that happened with the cylinders. And that will allow me to kind of create my own shapes here. But I'm gonna make sure to enable, I really want my hodag to show. Sad ZBrush. Oh well. Making sure to enable symmetry on both sides. That can kind of create some more organic, interesting shapes. Something kind of like this. I don't know. Just gonna have fun with it. I think that's really pretty. I don't know if it's looking like eat yourself, or I'm getting a little too sculpty here, but I'm sure having fun. There we go. I'm trying to like show tree roots almost. It kind of looks like a little person. Aloha, did you increase the poly count before using the booleans to cut out the shapes? No, because this isn't actually real, it's a preview. So if I turn off render booleans, you'll see that it's actually extruded outwards. This actually kind of looks like hammered steel, like details. It's kind of cool. So in order to actually make this real, what you need to do is scroll down to Boolean and click Make Boolean Match. I'm circling it aggressively. So once I have that, it'll show up as a new tool at the upper right. Just Lingual says, a man with hand in pockets. That's totally what it looks like. Center the circle. The circle should be centered. I wonder if it's not. Oh, it wasn't. Wow, good eye. Or now I don't trust it. Is any of this centered? Yes, everything else is centered. Corey says, I gotta get going for now. I'll have to rewatch this part at some point. It's looking cool. Have a good one. Yeah, thanks for being here. Okay, now I'm just being a menace and having a lot of fun. Whether I keep this or not, who knows? I don't like the arms, so I'll delete those and I will recreate this part, which seems more like what we're wanting. It looks like we had some weird fusion nonsense going on, which is too bad. So to fix that, I will go back to my original and scroll. Whenever you have these pieces, if you cross the center line, it will merge the topology together, so be very, very careful because you usually don't want that to happen. So this looks kind of odd because there's no bevel on it. There's no secondary form on the plane of it, but we're just kind of carving out the holes first. Adama says, I don't really see them as arms. I was seeing them as horns with an egg above them. Minivice mentions this will work with the tine design at the bottom. Ooh, it really will. This is looking more futuristic alien, I think. But it is cool. Okay, now it really looks like a person. I can't stop making it look like a person. Tree. I will win. Okay, either way, it is time to develop another aspect of this design, which are the tines. I don't know where there's my 3D gizmo. I should be able to create the tine simply by reusing the bits of the blade. We'll see. Like always, having Z activated. And then very carefully moving these edges. Because I have pretty good topology here, it's important to keep that. It's gonna make it look more intentional and just overall look nicer. Something kind of like that. Kind of just playing with this still. Happy hour ended a while ago. I just got really distracted. Let's go ahead and copy this tool and throw it into Odin's main project folder. Kind of bring it all together before I forget. It definitely needs more work. I really want to develop this to be much stronger than it is, but I think it's already definitively an improvement over what we had. I haven't done the Boolean operation on it yet, so don't you worry about the extruded lines. But yeah, look how much better. And oh, we missed some of our tines. Where did my tines go? Come back. Okay. It's much stronger than what we had before, which looked more loaf-y. So I can go ahead and, or you know what, we can actually keep that. Here we go. So I'm obviously going to improve and keep working on it, but it's cool what we have so far. And they will have holes throughout them. Well, that's kind of fun. Kind of different. It needs a lot more work, but I'm very happy with the beginning of it. All right, that puts us into last call. And that means it's almost time for me to have lunch, which is going to be chili today. Alrighty. So a couple things happened during today's stream. We made some progress on this spear. It still has a lot more work to go, but it's gonna be really awesome. We also did some work on the hodag. Just a little bit by blending some seams while dealing with all this texture and showing off this new pose. Getting a fun render on here. During this last call, this is the very end of our stream here. If you have any final questions for me, let me know. If not, I'm gonna do a quick summary and that'll be a wrap. Oh, I really want to get a fun render of this guy though. If you haven't already, please join our Discord server. I'd love to have you there. Hindsight says, man, I wish I could get my wife to eat the same thing 3 days in a row. Oh, don't you worry. I am an absolute pain in the ass. I only recently started doing that, and Ricky is not sure how he managed to get that to happen. I'm not either, but it has made our lives much easier. Yeah, she is not a leftovers person. Same. No, I'm just as bad, I assure you. And the main meat and potatoes of the day was this Plasmoid Warlock, which apparently I did not save. So let's go ahead and see if I put it somewhere else or if it ended up in here. No, I did not save. Good job. Which is a-okay. We did not lose any of that work because I obsessively, wow, I really didn't save. That's crazy. Quick saves. This is how you fix that problem. Comma for lightbox and then quick save. And if you have them enabled like a crazy person every 3 minutes like me, then you won't lose any work. Pro tip. Bam. And now I'll save. I'm going to make sure I put it in the right place. There we go. Beautiful. Hindsight says, well, if he figures it out, tell him to teach me his ways. I will let you know. I will let him know to let you know. Mini Blades. I thought you saved. So did I. I am not to be trusted. Yeah. Mini Blaze has also reshared my free STL collection for the day. I share free models every single day. So if you have a 3D printer, join my Patreon for free, that community, and that means you'll get reminded every time I share a new model, which again is every day. Today is a 6-piece coral collection. All of these models are already available to patrons. I have almost 1,000 of them, so if you like what you see, just get all of them. Just be a patron. I have a little over 400 people that support me every month. That's what keeps the lights on. And also looking at buying a house this year, which is really, really exciting. Ooh, Ricky mentioned chili. That means chili is probably ready. All right, guys. I love you guys, but I love chili more. I'm so hungry. Okay. The trick is to heat it up for her. This is true. When I see old food, I think it's disgusting. But if it's presented to me as if it's new, God, I'm like a... It's the same way you can like fool a dog by like wrapping up a pill in peanut butter. Whatever. Anyway, I'm hungry. Take care. Thank you so much for being here. Join the Discord. Click on links. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
you.